September 13th, 1942, 02:17 hours, North Atlantic, west of Ireland. The ocean is black and restless, a rolling sheet of cold steel. Inside the narrow pressure hull of U-96, the air smells of diesel fuel, sweat, and damp wool. Condensation drips from the pipes overhead like a slow, irregular rain. The men haven't seen the sun in days. Above them, somewhere beyond the crushing weight of water, a convoy is passing. You can almost feel the tension tightening with every whispered command. Klar zum Angriff, prepare to attack. Kapitän Leutnant Heinrich Lehmann Willenbrock leans toward the periscope, his eye fixed, unblinking. He has done this before, dozens of times. The convoy slides across the lens, dark silhouettes against a faintly glowing horizon. Merchant ships, fat, slow, blind, perfect. To the men of the U-boat arm, this moment feels like invincibility. They have learned to trust the sea. For nearly 3 years now, the Atlantic has belonged to them. Below decks, sailors move with practiced silence. One checks the gyroscope angle on a torpedo, another adjusts ballast, compensating for the subtle changes in depth as the submarine glides forward like a hunting animal. There is no panic here, no doubt, only routine, because the ocean has always protected them. British escorts still struggle to detect submerged targets. Sonar pings are crude, unreliable, easily confused by thermoclines and underwater noise. At night, the surface belongs entirely to the U-boats. They rise like ghosts, running on diesel engines, faster than the convoys they stalk. The crews call it die glückliche Zeit, the happy time. On the radio, BDU headquarters in Naval, France, sends confident updates. Admiral Karl Donitz, commander of the U-boat arm, believes he has found the winning formula. Wolf packs, radio coordination, night surface attacks. One submarine shadows a convoy, others converge. Then, chaos. It has worked spectacularly. In 1941 and early 1942, Allied ships vanish at an alarming rate. Tankers burn off the American coast, their flames visible from beach houses. Lifeboats drift for days. Entire cargoes of food, fuel, and ammunition disappear into the Atlantic, and the U-boat crews feel untouchable. Inside U-96, the attack unfolds with mechanical precision. Torpedo 1, los! A dull shudder runs through the hull as compressed air ejects the weapon, then another and another. The men count silently. Seconds stretch. The ocean seems to hold its breath. Boom! The explosion is distant but unmistakable. A cargo ship erupts in flame, its silhouette breaking apart. Cheers are muted but real. Slaps on the shoulders, grins in the dim red light. Somewhere above, sailors are scrambling, shouting, dying. But down here, there is only confirmation. They were right again. The submarine slips deeper, evading what little response the escorts can muster. Depth charges explode far away, harmless. The hydrophone operator listens, relaxed. The screws of the enemy ship sound confused, uncoordinated. Still blind, still helpless, still losing. For the men of the U-boat arm, this sense of invincibility becomes a belief system. They believe the Atlantic is too vast to be controlled, that no enemy can watch every mile, that technology will always lag behind cunning and courage. They joke that the British are fighting the last war, that the Americans are amateurs playing at naval combat. Some even begin to feel pity for the merchant crews. Others feel something more dangerous: certainty. Every successful patrol reinforces it. The sea hides them, the night protects them, and if they are careful, if they dive deep enough, turn silent enough, they will always slip away. Even when rumors begin to circulate, Whispers of new radar sets, of aircraft that can see at night, of escorts that don't give up the chase. The veterans dismiss it. Every war has rumors. Every enemy exaggerates its progress. Besides, they've heard this before, and they are still alive. But the Atlantic is changing. Slowly at first, almost imperceptibly. Convoys begin to hold tighter formations. Escorts grow more aggressive, more disciplined. Aircraft appear farther from shore than ever before. Sometimes, just for a moment, a U-boat commander feels exposed, like a shadow has passed overhead where none should exist. The hydrophone operator reports strange noises, not propellers, not depth charges, something else. The radio brings new orders, new cautions, less confidence. Still, patrols continue. Still, attacks succeed. Still, BDU assures them that victory is only a matter of sinking tonnage faster than it can be replaced. And beneath the waves, the men of the U-boat arm continue to believe they are invisible. They do not yet understand that the ocean is learning to see, not with eyes, but with sound, with radio waves, with relentless, coordinated precision. And soon, very soon, the sea that once hid them will begin to hunt them. March 1943, North Atlantic, grid square HX229. The ping comes without warning. Sharp, metallic, unmistakable. Inside U-405, conversation dies instantly. Every man freezes, eyes lifting toward the overhead pipes as if the sound itself might drip through the steel. The hydrophone operator stiffens, fingers tightening around his headphones. Another ping. Closer this time. You can almost feel it vibrate through the hull, not loud, not violent, but precise, purposeful, like a finger tapping on a door it already knows how to open. Kapitanleutnant Rolf Heinrich Hauptmann doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His voice is calm, but the order carries weight. Silent running. All stop. Diesel engines cut out. Electric motors slow to a crawl. Valves are adjusted by hand, carefully, to prevent even the faintest hiss. A wrench slips from a sailor's grip. Someone catches it mid-fall, heart hammering. Too late to be careless now, because this ping is different. For years, Allied sonar, ASDIC, had been crude, almost polite. A cone of sound sweeping blindly through the water, easily confused by temperature layers or seabed echoes. A clever U-boat commander could slip beneath it, turn away, vanish. This one does not wander, it tracks. The hydrophone operator swallows. Contact holding, Herr Kailun. The escort above isn't just searching, it's following. Outside the hull, the ocean no longer feels empty, it feels occupied, controlled. The men wait for depth charges, bracing for the familiar thunder. None come. Instead, the pings continue, steady, patient. The enemy is measuring distance, speed, depth, learning the shape of the submarine below. Hunting. What the U-boat crews don't yet fully grasp is how much has changed in the last 6 months. Across the Atlantic, Allied scientists and engineers have been working around the clock. Sonar sets are improved, their beams narrowed and strengthened. Escort crews are trained relentlessly, taught not to break off attacks too soon, not to waste explosives blindly. New tactics emerge. Instead of charging past a contact and losing it, escorts circle slowly. They hold the sound contact, they wait. They exhaust the submarine's batteries. They force it deeper, slower, weaker. And above the surface, the sky is no longer empty. Long-range patrol aircraft now roam the mid-Atlantic air gap, territory once thought unreachable.
They carry radar that can spot a U-boat's conning tower at night, lee lights that suddenly flood the sea with blinding white illumination. The surface, once the U-boat's refuge, becomes a trap. Inside U-405, time stretches unbearably. Minutes, then an hour.
The air grows foul. Carbon dioxide builds. Sweat beads on foreheads despite the cold steel underfoot. The boat creeps forward at minimal speed, trying to slide out of the sonar beam. It doesn't work. The ping adjusts. Then comes the first explosion. A distant thud, not close enough to kill, but close enough to shake dust from the bulkheads. A warning shot. The second is closer. The lights flicker. A gauge needle trembles violently. Somewhere aft, a valve groans under pressure. Men grip pipes, bunks, each other. Still no panic, just concentration. Discipline drilled into them over countless drills. They have survived worse, haven't they? Across the convoy battles of March 1943, this scene repeats itself again and again. Wolf packs converge as ordered. Radio traffic crackles with contacts and attack plans, but something feels wrong. Escorts respond faster, aircraft arrive sooner, attacks are broken up before they can fully form. Submarines are forced down again and again, driven away from the convoys they were meant to destroy. Some never return. The BDU reports losses in careful language, but the numbers are undeniable. Boats are disappearing at a rate no one expected. Entire crews gone. No survivors, no signals, just silence. Still, Admiral Dönitz presses on. He believes this is a temporary setback, that new boats, new tactics, new weapons will restore the balance. The Atlantic, he insists, cannot be controlled by machines. But the men at sea are beginning to feel the truth before it reaches headquarters. Back aboard U-405, the depth charges finally arrive in earnest. One detonates close enough to slam a sailor into the bulkhead. Another bursts somewhere forward. Metal screams as rivets strain. Water sprays from a hairline crack, quickly plugged with rags and wooden wedges. The boat dives deeper. 200 meters. 230. The hull creaks, protesting as pressure tightens its grip. Every man listens to the sounds the steel makes, wondering which groan might be the last. Then, silence. The ping stops. For a moment, hope flickers. Did they lose contact? No. The hydrophone operator's voice is barely a whisper. Multiple screws. They're circling. They're not leaving. They're waiting. Waiting for batteries to die, for air to grow unbreathable, for mistakes. The ocean, once their ally, has learned patience. And patience is deadly. Hours later, U-405 surfaces under cover of darkness, battered but alive. The crew is exhausted, shaken. They have no torpedoes left to fire. Their mission is over before it truly began. As they limp back towards France, the men say little. They don't need to. Each of them has felt it. The certainty is gone. The sea no longer hides them. It listens. It remembers. It calls others to join the hunt. And somewhere in the black water behind them, the enemy is getting better, faster than they can adapt. Soon, invisibility will no longer be an illusion. It will be a memory.
May 5th, 1943. Dawn, North Atlantic, south of Greenland. The sea is deceptively calm. A pale gray sky presses low against the water, and a thin mist hangs just above the waves. From the bridge of U-954, Oberlieutenant Zerzay Oscar Heinz Kusch scans the horizon through binoculars, eyes burning from lack of sleep. This is supposed to be a target-rich ocean. Instead, it feels watched. Behind him, the deck gun crew waits in silence, fingers numb, breath visible in the cold air. The boat rides high on the surface, batteries depleted after another long night submerged. They need to recharge, they need air, they need speed. They also know this is when submarines die. The warning comes too late. A shout, a shadow, then the scream of engines from above. Aircraft, not distant, not searching, attacking. Kush drops the binoculars. Alarm! The crew dives for the hatch as machine gun fire rakes the deck. Bullets spark off steel. Someone stumbles. Someone else drags him forward. The hatch slams shut just as the boat begins its plunge. Too slow. A concussion rocks the hull before they reach safe depth. A weapon detonates close, far closer than depth charges ever did. The shock is violent, sudden, intimate. This is no random bombing. This is precision. What the U-boat crews are facing now is the fully matured Allied system. Aircraft armed with radar guide escorts directly to targets. Sonar maintains contact below the surface. New weapons, forward-thrown explosives that detonate on contact, fill the gaps depth charges once left open. There is no safe layer anymore. Too shallow and aircraft kill you. Too deep and escorts crush you. Too fast and they wait you out. Too fast and they hear you. The ocean has become a net. Inside U-954, lights flicker wildly as the boat dives. A gauge shatters, spraying glass. The electric motors strain, whining under load. Men scramble to contain damage, voices raised despite themselves. Another explosion. Closer. A section of piping bursts, flooding a compartment ankle deep. Pumps engage immediately, but the water keeps coming. The hull groans like a living thing under stress. Kush grips the periscope housing, jaw clenched. He knows the numbers, he knows the margins, he knows how many meters remain before steel becomes paper, and he knows the escorts will not stop. They never stop now. Across the Atlantic, May 1943 unfolds like a reckoning. In a single month, dozens of U-boats are destroyed. Some are caught on the surface and obliterated by aircraft before they can dive. Others are hunted for hours, sometimes days, until batteries fail and air runs out. Crews surface into gunfire. Some scuttle their own boats rather than be torn apart inside them. The radio traffic tells the story even before the official tallies arrive. Desperate signals, broken transmissions, sudden silences where voices once were. The wolf packs are dying. Back in France, Admiral Denitz finally sees what his men have felt for weeks. Losses are insustainable. Experienced crews are gone. New boats are arriving faster, but they carry green sailors into an ocean that no longer forgives mistakes. Every patrol feels like a gamble with impossible odds. For the first time since the war began, Admiral Denitz orders a large-scale withdrawal from the North Atlantic. It is not announced as defeat, but everyone understands what it is. Inside U-954, the hunt ends abruptly. A final explosion ruptures the hull aft. The lights go out completely. Emergency lamps flicker on, casting the compartment in sickly yellow. Water surges in faster now, knee-deep, then waist-deep. There is no panic, just understanding. Orders are shouted, but the meaning behind them is clear. This boat will not escape. Men exchange glances. Some think of home. Some think of nothing at all. When the submarine finally breaks the surface, forced up from flooding, it is met instantly by gunfire. The bridge disappears in a storm of steel and flame. U-954 sinks within minutes. No distress call, no survivors. Just coordinates marked on a chart, soon to be crossed out.
By the end of May, the truth is undeniable. The Atlantic has changed hands. The Allies no longer react to U-boats. They anticipate them. They track their movements. They exploit their weaknesses. They kill them with efficiency that borders on indifference. For the men who survive, returning to base feels unreal. They walk on solid ground like ghosts, thinner, quieter, older than when they left. Faces are missing from the barracks. Names are struck from boards. Conversations trail off into silence. The belief that once carried them, that the ocean would always protect them, is gone, replaced by something colder: clarity. But the war is not over, and the submarines, though beaten, are not finished yet. New boats are coming, new weapons, new promises, and with them, a final desperate attempt to take back the darkness. October 1943. Lorient occupied France, pre-dawn. Rain slicks the concrete pens, pooling around the massive gray flanks of newly arrived submarines. Their hulls are darker now, sleeker, bristling with antennas and unfamiliar fittings. Floodlights reflect off fresh paint that smells of chemicals and rushed optimism. These are supposed to change everything. Inside one of them, a young lieutenant studies the cramped control room with quiet intensity. He has trained for this moment for months. He has memorized the manuals. He believes, has to believe, that this boat is different, because it must be. The survivors of Black May talk in low voices now. They speak of aircraft that appear without warning, of sonar that never loses contact, of escorts that refuse to give up no matter how long the chase drags on. The old confidence is gone, replaced by technical language and cautious hope. Hope in devices, radar detectors, acoustic decoys, new torpedoes that home in on propeller noise, heavier anti-aircraft guns to fight it out on the surface if they have to. And then there is the boat itself. The Type 21, still rare, still unfinished in many yards, promises something radical: true underwater speed, extended submerged endurance, a submarine that no longer needs the surface, a return to invisibility, at least on paper. The patrol begins quietly. The submarine slips into the Atlantic under cover of darkness, engines humming smoothly. Below the surface, electric motors push the boat faster than any U-boat before it. The men feel it immediately, the acceleration, the steadiness, the sense of power. For the first time in months, something like confidence returns. They dive deep and stay there. No nightly surface runs, no desperate battery charges under star-filled skies. The boat moves like a shadow, listening, watching, waiting. When sonar pings echo faintly in the distance, the crew adjusts course and speed. The contact drifts away. No chase, no explosions. Smiles appear. Maybe this will work. But the ocean has not stopped evolving. Allied escorts have learned to interpret absence as well as presence. A missing contact, a broken pattern, a sudden silence. These are clues now, not mysteries. Aircraft coordinate with ships in real time. Hunter-killer groups roam independently of convoys, actively searching for submarines instead of waiting to be attacked. The fight is no longer reactive, it is proactive. And every innovation brings a counter. The new acoustic torpedoes claim their first successes. Escorts are damaged, one is sunk. Cheers erupt inside the submarine as the explosion reverberates through the water. Then the countermeasure arrives. Noisemakers are dropped into the sea, mimicking propeller sounds. Torpedoes veer away, chasing ghosts. The submarine is forced to maneuver aggressively, revealing itself to sonar. The hunt resumes, faster this time, smarter. Hours later, the boat is driven deep, too deep. The hull creaks ominously as pressure builds. Men monitor gauges with white-knuckled focus. Every system is pushed near its limits. The captain orders a turn, then another, trying to shake the contact. The sonar pings follow. Then, the explosions begin. Not random, not hopeful, calculated. Forward-thrown charges detonate ahead of the boat, boxing it in. Each blast steals a little more space, a little more time, a little more air. Someone whispers a prayer.
someone else, counts silently. When the submarine finally escapes, battered but intact, it does so by chance as much as skill. A momentary distraction, a miscommunication between ships, a brief opening in the net. The men know it. They have not reclaimed invisibility. They have borrowed time. Across the fleet, reports echo the same pattern. New technology delays the inevitable. It complicates the hunt. It raises Allied losses slightly. But it does not reverse the balance. Too many eyes, too many ears, too many ships and planes working as one. The Atlantic is no longer a place to hide. It is a system, and systems are unforgiving. Back at base, the returning crew is greeted politely. No bands, no speeches, just mechanics, officers, paperwork. Another patrol completed, another boat damaged, another crew reduced. The young lieutenant steps onto the quay and looks at the pens, at the rows of submarines waiting their turn. He realizes something then, something no briefing ever said aloud. This is no longer about winning. It is about surviving long enough to matter. The U-boat arm will continue to fight until the end of the war, but the men know the truth now. The ocean did not turn against them in a single moment. It learned, and once it learned, it never forgot.
April 1945, Kiel Harbor, late afternoon. The water is unnaturally still. Sunlight glints off the harbor in broken fragments, interrupted by wreckage, half-sunk hulls, twisted metal, oil slicks that shimmer with rainbow colors. Along the quay, submarines sit idle, some unfinished, others deliberately scuttled by their own crews. The war is almost over. Inside one of the pens, a former U-boat commander stands alone, hands resting on the cold concrete wall. His uniform hangs loosely now. The rank insignia feels heavier than it used to. He listens, not for engines, not for pings, just the water. There was a time when the Atlantic felt endless, a time when diving beneath the surface meant safety, when darkness meant freedom, when a single submarine could bring an empire's supply lines to their knees. Those memories feel distant now, like stories told by someone else, because by the end, the sea never stopped watching. In the final months of the war, patrols become rarer, fuel is scarce, crews are inexperienced, many boats never leave port, trapped by air raids and advancing armies. Those that do slip out face an enemy that no longer fears them. They are tracked almost immediately, sometimes destroyed within hours. The invisibility is gone completely. Survivors of the U-boat arm carry something few outside it can understand. They remember the sound of sonar pings growing faster, the way escorts learned to wait them out, the moment when hope shifted from attack to escape. They remember the day they realized the ocean was no longer neutral, that it had chosen sides. After the surrender, Allied officers tour captured submarines with professional curiosity. They admire the engineering, the cramped efficiency, the resilience of men who lived inside steel tubes for months. But they also understood something fundamental. This was not a battle of bravery versus cowardice. It was a battle of systems, and systems won. Radar linked to radio, aircraft linked to ships, intelligence linked to production. Every contact shared, every mistake corrected, every success multiplied. The Atlantic became transparent, not because it lost its depth, but because it was measured, mapped, and mastered. For the first time in history, an ocean was controlled. The former commander leaves the pen and walks toward the harbor edge. He watches gulls circle above the water, indifferent to what it once concealed. He knows now what took too long to accept. The sea did not betray them, it adapted. And adaptation, once complete, is irreversible. Years later, historians will write about tonnage sunk and battles won. They will chart graphs and timelines. They will explain technologies and doctrines. But for the men who lived it, the memory is simpler. There was a moment, quiet, unmistakable, when the Atlantic stopped being a hiding place and became a mirror. It reflected every sound, every movement, every hope. And in that reflection, the U-boat crews saw the future, too late to change it.